Welcome back. Please join us as we continue with the afternoon session of the Masterclass workshop. So, Fanou, please come up to the stage. Pining, please come up to the stage as well. Thank you. Team number 5, please come up and receive your feedback.
Hello.
Hello.
So, your project, Lunarian. Let
Yes.
me... Okay, let me find it. Okay. The first thing I wanted to say is you have excellent draftsmanship.
Thank you so much.
Your characters, they are really well drawn. The silhouettes are really good. You have like very good composition skills. I can see that from these drawings. So yeah, good job.
Thank you very much. That's such a high praise coming from you.
I think you draw better than I do. So
no.
there's a bunch of you who do draw better than I do, but it's okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, the horses in particular, they're really well drawn, like really impressive. The silhouettes there, okay, yeah, the ones on the bottom, and this as well. Like horses are really hard to draw, so I can show you there. Yeah, this one is impressive, and yeah, your drawing skills are really impressive. How old are you?
I am 24.
24, yeah. Really young too. So I'm super impressed by your ability to make like compelling images, like nice looking drawings. Honestly, I just love everything about like the way you drew things. I think you have like really good shots. And here, I think this is the only project where I've seen compositions in a wider format, which I think would be interesting for a lot of projects to go a bit wider and not just like stick to the 16 and 9 traditional format for TV. So I'm happy to see that. Yours is like not 69 by the way. Like it's wider than TV screen, right?
I'm not really. It's 16 by 9.
Oh, it's 16 by 9. Okay,
I think. I'm not really
yeah.
sure.
It looks different on the screen and in there. But yeah, it's still like the images are well composed. You have like very good, even the effects and the drawing, and very like you know how to keep things simple. So yeah, really good job on that. And I really love this image. I want to see something like this that's moving. But, and there's a but.
Yeah.
You like drawing cool things, right? You like drawing beautiful things.
Yep.
But the story part is really hard to make out from either like this presentation or the animatic. So as I was telling everyone yesterday, maybe it would be good for you to pair up with someone who likes writing stories and just like tell them, oh, I want to do this and I have this cool character, this cool setting in mind, but can you help me like build a story?
Yeah. So it's actually about the warrior you see. Is actually like he's a thief. That he come to steal the power stone, something like that. I don't really have the word.
Oh yeah, that one stone there.
Yeah, that stone is the same one of this one.
Okay.
In the smaller scale.
Okay.
So when he stole it, the whole moon got destroyed, and the soldier come down to find it.
The bits of moon, like the pieces of the moon.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's an interesting story. Why didn't you start with that yesterday?
Sorry, it's just all. I think I'm just not sure how it will go, but I have like it's kind of vague. Like, it's not that clear yet.
Yeah.
The story.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if the stone got destroyed and then little pieces of it fell down on Earth, it's like in Dragon Ball, like it has to. That's a very, like I'm saying Dragon Ball, but it's a very very a common trope in media to have someone who needs to gather pieces of something that comes together at the end. Lost treasure, and you have like one in every continent or every mountain, etc. This is something that you find in stories, like in mythology, in a lot of different culture. So this is a common trope, but usually they have a goal in mind. Like it's not just gathering the stones. Like, sometimes it's to create a weapon, sometimes it's to bring back peace. So what's her goal?
I have two different ideas in mind. The first one is this warrior just come to steal the stone to save his village. And the other idea is him, like his land is being controlled by the moon itself, the Lunarian, and he wants to destroy the moon.
Oh, okay. Sorry, getting notifications. Okay, I like the idea of being controlled by the moon because there's a bunch of lots of stories in mythology or religion about the moon controlling us, because the moon controls the sea, right? High seas, they're caused by the moon, and the moon's attraction on the sea. And there's lots of legends about how people behave differently on the full moon, etc. So the moon itself having an attraction, and the warrior, like the thief, wanting to get it back together to stop the moon from controlling him. I think like that's an interesting story. But so that's the narrative part. Like this happens, and this is the goal of this character. But you also have, for a story like this to work, to have something else that the character needs to do. I said this earlier to lots of people before you, but there's what the character wants to do, which is like the goal, the motive, and what the character needs to do in order to achieve their objective. So like, what's the metaphor? What's the idea behind bringing pieces of like the moon together? Do you have like something that the character has to understand about himself, maybe?
Like the inner self of himself.
Right.
Not.
You can say not yet.
Not
That's
yet.
fine.
The one thing I have in my mind is I just want him to fight like a big creature and even bigger. Like so he will like destroy the first one, the big one first, and he will go on to fight the bigger one. And the last goal is to like kill the king of the moon, and then he will eventually like bring peace to his world. But it actually will like destroy the rest of the galaxy, something like that.
Okay, quite a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. But in order for a story like this to resonate with people, you have to understand that it doesn't have to be like just, oh, cool fights. I mean, it's fine. And I have students who just said, oh, I want to animate cool fights. But usually, I have one student, and his name is Samuel, and he first wrote a story about Yasuke, who is the first black slave who was brought into Japan, and he became a samurai. And so at first I was like, oh, I just want to make a cool movie about like fighting and swords and stuff. But then like as the year progressed, I thought, oh, my movie is more about like freedom and what it means to be away from your country and of your different culture. And he understood everything about this like as he was making his own movie. So I think like for this project, it's a small thing, but for your own thesis and your own projects later on, maybe you can start with a basic idea like this and like, oh, I want to animate cool fights, and then you can add more in your project as you are developing it. So I had this to say, and I love like the way you draw. I wanted to show you some like bits of references because to me this looks really French.
Really?
Somehow. Yeah, this is an art style that we see a lot in France. There's a lots of people who are really inspired by Japanese animation, but also like French traditional comics. So I was kind of like, whoa, I feel like.
I mean, I'm a big fan of like Goblong animations.
Okay,
yeah.
so maybe that's why. I want to show you these guys. They're not really popular. So. Yeah, it's really not really well planned. Rangs it. Where is it? Let me do this for a second. Sorry. It disappears. It's back. Okay, that's good. Good to go. Okay, so there's these two French guys. Where are they? Oh, yeah, this one is Valentin Sèche. And I don't know if you see what... I will write it down for you later. Okay. Don't worry. Like Thank all you. Of you, if you want to get the names of the people I showed you before, you just have to comment. I will write it down for you. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see like why I thought of you, like, and I thought of this guy when you showed me your art. But he does a lot of like this kind of line work, and the way he draws his characters is kind of similar. And like, yeah, you can see there, like, there's a kind of like same vibe to your art. But what he does that maybe is missing a bit from what you've shown is like very detailed background art. I'm not saying that you have to be very detailed, but I think it would be interesting because you have like really good compositions, like this. Like this works pretty well. This is really pretty. I want to see more details of that, and I think you'd be able to draw them. Like you have a lot of details on the characters, but now I want to see more about the universe like this takes place in, and I want it to be not just like good looking, but also tell me a story with the backgrounds. Don't just think like, oh, this shape looks good, this shape looks interesting, which is fine. It should be good and interesting, but it should also, if you're trying to invite people into your world, it's good to have like points of focus and places where you add some details so people can say, oh yeah, okay, yeah, these were the drawings. Earlier I showed Mobius. I don't know if you saw him. He's a French comic artist. Where are you? Yeah, this guy, right? So he has them like really simple backgrounds sometimes, but there are other parts that are really detailed, and the composition is really interesting. Okay, he's a really famous in France and really influential, but you can see why. Like it's kind of old looking, but still holds up really well. So I'd like to see more of this in your project. And another person that made me think of you, where is it? Oh, that's Guillaume Saint-Gelin. He's also French, and he also kind of like has the same type of line work that you do. There's not much of his work on Pinterest, and none of it is his. But he has the same like very flowy drawing that you do. So and both of these guys, they have very strong background details and background composition, and I think that's like the skills that you could try to develop a bit more because you already know how to draw characters, right? So you should focus on the story first, like add more, and don't. You can ask for help, not just like your friends, your teachers, and like random people. It's just. Don't be afraid of asking for help on parts that you don't really understand yet, or you don't feel very confident in, and then maybe do more background stuff because I think you'd be really good at it, and because you already know how to draw, right? So and you have like really pretty compositions there. The framing is really good, and What else? So I think you have like lots of skills already, and if you want to go further, you really need to focus on these two things first. Honestly, I don't have much to say to you apart from this, because I really think your art looks cool, but the story was not really developed. So if you want to talk more about the story, you can like tell me now or later.
Maybe a bit later. I don't really sure right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do actually. Like, how should I research? Like, do you have any mythology recommended? Because I'm not really a book guy. Like, I don't read much. But you, yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting question. Thank you. Well, I do read a lot, so I will like. You're a visual person, right? You like looking at things like images and stuff. Yeah. So you have the moon is very central to your story. And if you want to know more about the moon, like you have to go and look for moon pictures, like moon photography. There are lots of books about that, but you can also find it online, like what's the English name for that, like people who take photographs of space, and you can find a lot of inspiration, because sometimes it looks really different from what you would expect. So if I had to write a story like this, the first thing I would do is look up astrophotography, I think that's the name. Yeah. So I would be like, oh yeah, okay, so there's this, and there's kind of a medieval inspiration to your drawings. So maybe I would try and look up like costumes and see what actual medieval armor looked like, and not the image you have in mind of what is a knight or something. And comic books, like if you're not really into reading, then you can look up like the artists. All of these guys I showed you, they are comic book artists. They're not in animation. Right. So using like visual images first. And as I told your classmate, not sure if he's your classmate.
Yeah. We are classmates.
Earlier, I think it's good like to widen your perspective. So watch movies. I'm not sure if it's shown right now in Thailand. I don't think it is, but I have a student, and his movie is like about a volcano and like lots of special effects. And right now in France, there's a movie that's been shown, like a documentary in theaters about a couple that did volcano research. And we told them, oh, you have to go see this movie, so you can like go online, look up documentaries and stuff on the subject that your film is about. Even if like your film is like full on fantasy, you draw inspiration from like elements of the real world. So just go and look at this like through the media that you enjoy. If you don't like reading much, then you can try and watch movies, documentaries, TV series, etc. So I think like you have to enjoy doing research. So doing it through media that you enjoy would be the best. Does that help?
That's helped a lot. Thank you. And I have another question. It's about the budget. Like, I just wonder in detail, like, how do you really
plan for a budget?
Yeah, calculate like in the real.
Okay, I will tell you all of that with like French with euros. I have no idea about Thai budgeting, but. In France, the thing you have to do is mostly you have to. Let me organize my thoughts a bit. It really depends on the project. If you're making a short film, for example, like this is supposed to be a short film. I'm not saying it is. It looks more like a series, right? But if you're making a short film, you will have like to first think about like the minimum you would go to, which is. If you have the simplest art style, background, animation, etc., like you keep things really, really cheap, and you have to think, oh, how long is this going to be? Is it going to be 3 minutes? Then I need 3 minutes of animation. How much animation can I do in one day? And then you can calculate how many days it would take someone a bit like you to make the whole animated parts, then think the same about the backgrounds and the same about the background painting, compositing, all of the steps like this. And then once you've got this, like the very minimum, you can say it would cost at least this budget, right? So in France, I would say like in TV series, 1 minute is about €1,000. That's an estimate, but it's not the same for every TV series, of course, depending on... yesterday, I touched on, having puppet animation. That's a lot cheaper because you can have like 6, 7, sometimes 8 seconds per day animated for one person. And then there's like other very, very expensive art styles where tons of people have to go work on the shot, like clothes. Really expensive type of animation, right? So once your minimum budget is there, you can go and say, okay, I will make this movie, I will hire people if I get this funding. Under this funding, I have to think that I will have to do lots of things myself, or I just won't do it. And it's a bit like the same for a feature film, but if you really want to plan for a budget, you can look up other films that are pretty similar in ambition to yours. For example, like my movie, I know that if it's under €7 million, I'm not doing it because I know it's going to be too hard, and we will have to ask to artists to work super fast and have do overtime, and I don't want that. So as a director, I will step down and say, no, I'm not doing it under 7 million. Especially if it's a short film, you can for my pilot, I did a lot of things myself. That's fine. That's my project. So it's my own work and my own time. But you can't ask people to work more for you and do unpaid work. So the bigger the project, the more you have to pay attention to the budget. And it's really, I have a friend who is making a 3D movie right now, and it's under 13 million, I'm not doing it. So it really depends on the kind of style you're going with. Yeah, I don't know much about Thai animation industry, but you should look up budgets for movie clips or music videos and stuff like that. And then I can think, oh, okay, this is expensive. That's the expensive range, and that's the cheap range, and find out what's the regular budget.
Okay, that's answered all all of the questions.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, may the next team come on onto the stage.
Hello. Can I, your name is Rain?
Yes.
Rain and Cha-Cha? Yes. Okay. Hello. So your project is Caddis. I just need the screen to be showing. I think they're trying to... We'll wait for a bit.
สลับหน้าจอให้หน่อยค่ะ
Sorry. Okay. I wanted to talk to you about your animatic first, and then we'll talk more about visual development and the art part of it, okay?
Okay.
And if you have any trouble, you can ask your friend to translate. Or if you want to speak in Thai and she can translate, if it's easier for you, then that's fine for me. Okay. So let's watch this. It's going to show in there. So, just right there on this first shot, you're one of the few groups who thought about framing using foreground objects and composition first. So I wanted to congratulate you on that. That's a good way of framing things. So yeah, great job. You have lots of shots like these with objects on the foreground that help direct the eye to what you want to show. So good job on this.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to talk more about these type of shots. Like, this is good. It's an introductory shot, like a wide shot. You can, oh, I know that I'm going to be in this hotel, right? And then the next one introduces two characters, okay? And this, the two of them, they work really well. It's a good intro. So I have this mouse who is looking into the window there, and the mouse sees a cat. So you're introducing two characters. I want to know more about these two characters' relationship, right? But what's on the next shot? A different cat. So I was thinking about this cat and this mouse, and you as Derek say, oh no, forget about it. Let's talk about this other cat. So I think that's not the best way of introducing your different characters. You have, I'd say 4 of them, but like you have basically the owner, the one cat, the other cats, and then the rats, okay? So if you're showing me the rats first, then I want to know about the rats and the cats, what's their relationship like. Or at least I don't want to jump from one shot to another. That's completely a different story, okay? And also like, okay. Oh.
Okay, I'll translate.
Okay.
So ก็คือน้องเปิดมาเป็นตัวละคร2ตัววิ่งตัดกันใช่ไหมคะทีนี้น้องบอกว่ามีหนูแล้วก็มีแมวแต่ทีเนี้ยน้องเล่าเรื่องต่อเล่าแค่ตัวเดียวอีกตัวหนึ่งที่วิ่งมาด้วยกันน้องไม่ได้เล่าอาจารย์เขาเลยอยากเห็นเนื้อเรื่องของตัวนั้นต่อด้วยทีนี้น้องตัดปุ๊บแล้วน้องไปเรื่องอื่นก่อนเลยอย่างเงี้ยค่ะเนี่ยอาจารย์ก็เลยเมนชั่นขึ้นมา
I know that in trailers you have lots of shots that are not linked. They don't. They are from different scenes of a movie, and that's what you tried to do. Yours looked more like a trailer than some other projects, which is good and is interesting. But when you're making a trailer, you have to make sure that you don't have like shots like these that introduces characters and you drop the character. Do you want to translate that, or is it? Okay. And then here's, okay, so where is she? So you have this shot, it's a bit too fast, like the action goes a bit too fast. And this cat's expression on this one, it's kind of sad. Like, it's like, oh no, someone is taking me away. This is what I read on this shot. But I don't think that is their relationship, like between the two cats. It looks like the lady, the owner, is taking one cat away from the other, and the white cat is super sad about it. But they actually kind of have like a rivalry going on, right? Right? And this is not what I'm reading from this shot. So I think like you have to change the, maybe, like, I like what you're trying to say, which is one cat, it looks, that's what I'm reading. Like one cat is favored by the owner, like she prefers the white one, and the white one feels superior, right? Okay. Yes. So if you want to show that, you have to show the cat like being superior at the beginning of the shot, because right there, like she's picking up, and if I'm picking her up, and then putting her up, and you're like, oh, these two cats were equals, and then now the white one is superior, or is she trying to take the white one away, or like, it doesn't make a lot of sense, like it's hard to understand. So maybe you could already have the white cat on top of the owner, like have it on their shoulder, and then like go into her arms if you want to have like a kind of gesture with the cat, but I don't think like taking the cat up from the floor is the best action. That's just my opinion. You're not like you don't have to follow this. But I think like the expression, yeah, the way she looks is really confusing. Like you really have to think like, oh, this is a rivalry. No, like this shot in particular is like, she looks devastated, and the other cat is like, oh no, someone is taking my friend away, but that's not what you want to convey, right? Yeah, so you have to work on these expressions. Yeah, this one, the one before, like, if you cut the other ones, this and this, conveys rivalry pretty well. I can read it from these shots, but not the other ones. So you have to keep this energy and the kind of expressions that you made here. Okay, so we have this, and you have a proportion problem when you choose to make a story about animals that are really different in size. It's hard to frame things when you have like small mouse, rats, and big cats, and even bigger humans. So what you have there is like me as a viewer, I'm like kind of confused by the size of the rats and everything going on like with the space. So I think you need to work more on this, like have more precise view of how big one thing compared to the other, and think about it when you draw and frame your story, okay? Because there's not like this and right, like here the cat is the size of a mouse, or the rat. Like it doesn't look big enough. I understand what you went through, but I think like maybe shooting a bit wider, I don't know, like there's something that's not good proportions there. If you want to look up, like there are lots of movies with animals. Ratatouille.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
This one is really interesting with the framing, because it's a rat and there are humans and they have interactions, and there's like a bunch of French cartoons with lots of animals doing things with humans, and the Aristocats. You have Aristocats a bit different because they have Aristocats is the name of a Disney movie, right? What's the in French it's les Aristochats, but yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. Does the Aristocat ring a bell to anyone? It's like there's a white cat and she's like a lady, and she falls in love with another cat who is kind of a bum. Oh, because it's Aristocats. Okay. Oh. I thought you knew it because one of your designs looked really similar to one of the cats from the Aristocats. So you have to look it up. So yeah, you have to look at movies and TV series where there are lots and lots of very different sizes between characters, because that's hard to frame, and you will get lots of inspiration and know how to handle the difference in sizes. So these like few shots are a bit confusing. Like, what is this? What is this? I need to know what this is.
This is the ship that the black cat get from the rat to do their mission.
Okay, but what is... Okay, so yeah, I didn't understand that yesterday, sorry.
Yeah.
So the rats are like blackmailing the black cat to do something? Or is he just like in cahoots with the rats?
He just want to like
get rid of the white one?
Yes.
Okay.
And he do everything.
Okay, and what are the rats' goal? Like he wants to get rid of the white cat, but what do they as rat want? They also want to get rid of the white cat?
The rat is actually the one to take control of the hotel. So this ship is like a brain control thing that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the black cat need to take it to the owner.
The owner, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so and this is like the major part of your story,
Yes.
that the chip one or the chip thing, or the rats giving missions to the cat.
Yes.
Okay, but is it the chip one? Like the chip is major, or is it like just he has several missions given to him by the rats?
It's the major.
The mission. Okay, you need to make this a lot clearer in your animatic. So if you have several missions, you need to show who's the boss. Like there are some shots that work fairly well in this, like this. Of course, like this and this works well. Like I know who's the boss, but I'm not sure whose hand this is. Like, is it the cat's or the rat's?
Cat.
The cat, right? Yeah, looks like a cat hand. But I think here, if you want to be clear, you can show the rat holding the chip and then giving it to the cat. So I will understand easier that, okay, he gave him this and the cat has to carry a mission. The brain control thing, really hard to convey in such a short time, right? So maybe try to find another mission thing. The rats want to get rid of the owner, right? Okay, so just keep it simple. Give him a weapon, like go and kill the owner, okay? So maybe not this, but like keep it simple. I think the brain chip can be interesting, but in such a short time, it's going to be hard to make people understand what this is. Because like when you see this, oh, there's a brain, but I'm not sure, like I'm not in your head, so I can't be sure this is a brain chip. Lots of brain chips in this project. So this needs to be a lot more clear. Because, yeah, here, like, you have very good, these shots are really good, like, showing what's happening. I really like these. You have good, like, you understand how to show action, which is a very good skill to have, but you need to show more about your story, I think. Like, this is good. Oh, and there you have, like, is he giving the chip or giving money? What's happening there?
This is like invite card in the first met of them.
A what?
It's like invite card for the black cat.
I'm sorry, I didn't
So
understand.
like invited card to joy or something.
Okay, maybe that's a bit too much information. Like, it's funny, I will give you that, like, the rat giving away his business card, but hard to understand. Because, you know, you had, like, the chip before, and this looks like he's giving the same object to the cat, to me. So, maybe if you keep the chip thing, get rid of this, or have the chip be a different shape or something, so I'm not confused as a viewer. Okay. This is funny, like, I understand, like, the ending shots, I think they could be a bit better in terms of conveying story, etc., but to me, you try to do something interesting, which is like, when you start a trailer, you have slow pacing, and then everything accelerates at the end, and it doesn't make a lot of sense anymore. So I'm fine with that, but I think you need to think a bit more about editing and matching your music, because we can't hear the music there, but you have like a very, very film noir music, very 50s music. That it reminds you of Hollywood in the 50s, and like crime stories with dark lighting, etc. So you have this kind of music, but it doesn't match the pacing of your ending. Like, your ending is like going faster and faster, but the music doesn't. So kind of have to think about your music a little bit more, or find editing ways to match the music, but have the pacing accelerate on the animatic part. Okay, so overall, I think you need to make your concept a bit clearer. It works as a trailer, but when I see it, I'm like a bit confused about what's happening. I understand that there are two cats, rats are like a mafia, and there's a boss, and they want to take out some people in the hotel, but not too sure about who is the villain, who is doing what. So I think it could be a bit clearer. But I really commend you on using background, foreground, and interesting composition in your frames, okay? Next is the visual development thing. Let's go. Okay. Caddis Hotel. Okay. Wait, sorry. I'll talk about the backgrounds later. So, your cat, I like your drawing style. I think it's pretty unusual. It's not something that I see very often, so I'm happy to see this kind of drawings. However, on the silhouette and shape thing, I think the cats, they are really alike. Like if you go there, they are next to each other. Where are you guys? Yeah, right there. This is, these cats, they look really similar in shape, which you can see there, right? Apart from kind of some details and the tail, they have very similar shape. And I think with your art style, which is a bit cartoony, it's not too realistic, right? You can go a lot further than that. So I've picked up some interesting like cat silhouettes. So you can have like this guy is really thin. He has long pads, long arms and legs, but for animals, forgot about. And so this is one cat, and this one is like super fluffy with short legs. And yeah, this one is interesting. It's different shapes of cats. I'm not saying your art style reminds me of that. I'm saying like this person tried to draw very different cats. I'm not sure like all of them are that different, but there's an effort on that. So I think you need to think more about shapes on your cats to have them very different from each other, especially if you're going to have like, you have a lot of silhouettes and you play with lighting a lot, so people might not make out every detail of your character. If it's like on the foreground and it's all black, you have to know immediately which cat this is, right? So the silhouette will help you with that, okay? Your art is kind of reminds me of this guy who is called James Woods, and he has this very thin line and shapes that he's using in his art, and I think this would be a good inspiration for you, because like the owner's drawing reminded me a bit of his work. He works at Disney, I think. I'm not sure, like he's working in America basically, and as you can see, like he does very readable silhouettes, and some of your drawings, they are like that. They're very, this one, like the owner one, really solid and really good shape. The rats one, I think all of them have interesting poses, interesting shapes. But now I think what you have to do is be a bit more like solid on your anatomy. Even though you are drawing like very cartoony things, they have to be like firmly. Wait, I'm thinking in French, which is not a good idea. Yeah, you have to think like, oh, there's like this one. He has super short arms, so he looks a bit weird, right? And it doesn't really work, but if you get rid of the arms, like the legs look really good, the whole silhouette is pretty nice. So you have to think more about the anatomy, because you already have like the kind of very sharp drawing, very sharp silhouettes going on already. So you don't have to learn that, but I think you need to focus a bit more on anatomy and looking up people like this, like James Woods. He has a blog, and you can find on his blog that he does a lot of live drawing, and it helps him understand the way the body should work a lot better. So try to draw actual rats, actual cats before you start making poses and silhouettes. Okay?
Okay.
And then there are the backgrounds. Where? Oh, there. So I like your idea about like playing with light and having very strong colors. I think this works well, but same thing as with the anatomy. I think you have to be a little more solid on the perspective front. Like this could be really nice, but I see like some perspective errors that I can't look past. And it's the same with this. You have interesting compositions and you have interesting lighting. Now you need to be a bit more solid on the drawing skills front, okay? I'm not saying your drawings are bad. I've been saying like you can practice a bit more to make them look more real and have an art style that is solid. Okay, this is not about drawing at all. It's a really interesting one and works well, but it could be a bit better. And if you like this kind of very simple drawings, let me go back there. You have to look at this guy who is Kevin Dart, and he does a lot of art for American cartoons, and he does like these really simple shapes, but he's also like a very, very strong in perspective, and he knows how to draw like really realistic things. So it's good to study a bit more on perspective and things, and then you can go back to something that's simple and kind of wonky, because like some of the shapes, they don't follow perspective really well, but he knows which ones should be in the proper perspective and which ones he can just forget about and think, oh, that's fine if it's wonky. And yeah, he did a lot of lighting work, like you can see this, and he has interesting lights going on. This is the opening shot of the Powerpuff Girl special that came out maybe 10 years ago. I don't know. So yeah, look up this kind of very, very sharp drawings with lots of shapes and not a lot of details. That would be interesting for you. And Americans, they have a lot of that, so I think you'd be good checking that. Oh yeah, on the shapes, and there's one last thing I wanted to tell you about shapes. As you can see there, they all have kind of a similar shape, like they're all like this. And I think you need to think a bit more about their general shape. Like the owner is like this, the rats or the cats are like a triangle. So maybe you could have like the female cat there. It's already kind of going on, but she could have like a very large head and very small body, and she could be like more of this V shape, and the other cat could be the opposite. That's just a suggestion. You don't have to do that, but it will help differentiate between the other. And then the rat could be like very slim and just like this, or very round. Like, have to pick. Okay? Do you have any questions? No?
Not exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And keep up the good work. Okay.
Thank you. That's very good advice.
Can the 7th team come up to the stage, please? Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Ping, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I like the font that you chose there. I don't know if you drew it yourself, but I think it's really pretty.
I drew it myself.
Okay, I like it.
Thank you.
Okay, I will first start with the story. I'm interested in the story, but I need to know more about it. Both like this one-line pitch and the animatic don't tell me much about the story, because I have like some word setting and a character doing things. I will go back to the animatic a bit after, but I don't know much. I need you to explain to me what the story is really about. So what's the power of the core? Like, what's the core? I need to know more. Oh, wait, no, that's not. Sorry, everyone. Okay.
It's more like an energy power to use in the vehicle, or like light energy thingy. And
Oh, you just have to hold it close.
this project is actually it just me want to try into doing action animation. So I didn't really focus in the world setting and story as much as I could, which I really want to, but I don't know how. I don't really know how.
So you're more into like drawing things rather than like writing stories.
Yeah.
Okay. And is it something you want to change? Is it something like you want to focus more on? Because that's fine. You can. I keep telling you about my friend who just like does cool effects, but that's the way you can say, oh, I just want to animate cool things and then not write stories. That's also.
Yeah, I actually want to do both, but when it's come to pick one, when I doing the story, I can come up with a visual, but when I do visual, I can't come up with story, which is kind of confused.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. So I think like I wanted to know if like are you trying to say something about like technology or like the core, the power of the core? I don't know. It reminds me about like tales about technology in futurism.
I don't really focus about that at all. It's just something that the protagonist needs to get it from the abandon.
Okay,
so
to give the protagonist a goal.
Yeah.
Okay, so he went to get some power in the old abandoned factory, right?
Yeah.
Why is he doing that? Like, why does he need power? Why does he want to get this?
The reason is the protagonists actually have a group, which I didn't show in the animatic, and their vehicle is kind of run out of energy, so they send him to go find the energy to use in the vehicle to go on.
Okay.
Yeah. But when he go to that, and apparently there was someone there who seemed to have the same time. I don't know, like have to get.
Oh, he has the same goal as him.
Yeah.
So they're fighting to get the energy that's left in the building.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the basis of a story. One character wants to do something, and there's an obstacle. Okay, but from the animatic and a bit like from your file there, it's hard to make out. Like, I know he wants to do this, but I don't know why. And of course, I keep telling that to everyone. There's no like thematic, like anything over this goal that he has. So you need to think a bit more about like why is he doing that? Is there something the people who watch your animation will learn about themselves, or lots of things that we really like. They always have like a theme or something going on. It's not just more than just like, oh, it looks cool. I think like I don't know what's your favorite animated movie?
There's actually GB, and later I just watched The Legend of Hay, which I really like it.
Okay.
There's a lot of shonen animation which I like, but I can't come up with a name right now.
Okay. And what do you like about them?
Actually, I like the action in the film. Like I like how they frame when they're fighting, or like the action, which is I wish I could do that too, because the way they I don't know, the storyboard the action scene when they're fighting, I think it's really interesting.
Okay. So you're more on the technical side of thing there again, like less on the story. The story was not like what really moved you.
Yeah, the story which I move is more like the Spirited Away that you just mentioned in other group.
Oh, Spirited Away.
Yeah, that movie is the. I really want to know how the girl would go on with herself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the story is really like one of my favorite movies as well, because it has lots and lots of meanings and lots of unsaid things. And I'm not saying that every movie or TV show should be like that, but it's one of the best in this regards in animation, in my opinion. So there's a lot to learn from this movie and from Miyazaki's work in general about saying, like, showing something, having a story, and actually saying something with your art. I think that's what's interesting about his work. But it doesn't have to be always like that. So I wanted to ask you more about your taste because of that. Let's move on to the character. We'll talk more about the animatic after. So, is this supposed to be 2D, 3D, a series, a short film? Please tell me more.
It's supposed to be a 2D animation short film. It's about 3 minutes long. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so in 3 minutes you won't be able to show a lot, so you will have to keep the story really simple.
Yeah.
So there's this character, and that's the antagonist, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this character, I think like the design is really pretty simple. Like there's not a lot of elements, but you still have a lot of details. And of course, if you ever animate this and like for your thesis, if you go with something like that, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But it can be interesting. I'm not saying like give up on it, but it's going to be hard. And one thing I noticed is that if you want to draw like really, really realistic proportions like that, you have to be really strong at drawing. And I'm not saying like if you draw cartoons, like very cartoony style, you don't have to be good at drawing. But for realism, yeah, you have to do a lot of live drawing, be super like... if you're there in the room, you should be drawing the other people, what's on stage, and understand the perspective, how people work. Because like, the arms are a bit short there. Like usually your arm, they will get to half of your upper part of the leg, and there is kind of like that. You have like these small things that make the drawing a bit unrealistic. And when you're super realistic like that, you can't have that. You have to be perfect. So it's really hard to animate.
Yeah.
But it's also really interesting. So if you want to keep up with that, you can, but you're going to have to work lots.
Yeah, I really like to do that.
Okay. And it's lots of Japanese animation is really realistic, but there's also one thing that they do really well is to be really... they know how to make shots that are not fully animated, or they will frame the action in a way that allows them to not spend a lot of money on the shots. So one thing that you could do if you want to keep up with that, like continue doing that, is look up... do you think we can have a little less noise, please? Thank you. So if you want to keep up with that, like keep doing a really realistic animation, you can look up like Japanese animation and see how they frame the stories. Especially you were talking about like battles and such. On TV series, they save a lot of money by having shots with just like the character not moving much and having like just dialogues and stuff. So you have to look that up to make sure that in your own movie, your own thesis, you're going to have a realistic shot at finishing it.
Yeah.
Were you the one who told me that this was your project? I think like someone is going to...
Yeah, it's actually my class project.
Okay, so you're going to keep working on this?
Yeah, but I might shorten it because the deadline is the next month. And there also a project that I have to working, so...
You will have to shorten it, and probably make things a bit more simple.
Yeah.
And in terms of silhouette, I think like the two characters, they don't stand out much from each other, so maybe you could like push things a little further. You have to use like lots of animation tricks. For example, do one very strong drawing like layout posing, and you can even have like some shots that are still shots, not moving, nothing is moving. But if the character that's drawn on the screen is really well drawn, people will believe what's happening. You don't have to move them. Okay. Okay, let's... I just wanted to talk about like these inspirations are good, but then like the key visual there, it's a bit weaker than what you're showing up there. Like you have this composition, I will talk more about it later, but it's kind of like...
kind of wonky, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit wonky, but that's not what... Of course, no, you're not going to draw like this on the first try. Like this is someone who has lots of experience, and also photographic, probably like photos are 3D under it. Like you could use 3D, you could use photos, like do composite art if you're not really confident with backgrounds. But I wanted to show a bit more, like let me draw a bit. Okay. So what are you trying to say with this? Like what's the idea behind this? You want to show that his front is in front of the factory and the factory is really big and menacing?
Yeah, I just want to show that the factory is ruined and probably no one is living there.
Mm-hmm.
And just showing like what show what kind of world he's living in.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's an introduction to the world he is in. Okay, I'll let you watch in there. So from your references, like everything seems really big there. Is it something that you want to keep in your drawing as well? Like the factory, the abandoned building is really big? Okay, so one thing that I noticed is like your character is pretty big compared to the background. Not the part that's right behind him, but compared to the factory, kind of looks small, the factory. So you have to correct this. And another thing that you need to do is to play with the foreground. So let's try this. So if you have this, like the character is standing there. So there's your character on the third, not really on the third, but you know the rules of the third, right? For a good composition. So here's your character, and then you have like the factory behind him. Like I'm just drawing really rough shapes there. It's just that the factory needs to be pretty big compared to him, because otherwise it won't look menacing, okay? Okay, so why not having like this kind of stuff? So, okay, like this is a basis of your drawing, but now you need to frame the character. Like there's a lot of information there, so what I would do is like add what you try to add, but it's too small in my opinion. Maybe there's like kind of like something going on there, so you don't have to show all of the floor, the ground there. And then there's another one here. And see how like I'm much more focused on the character there. It's just very basic, simple drawing, but if you put things in front of the camera, you're gonna have an easier time putting like the focus on your character and what's happening there. So the two things I would change on this shot, I did a little drawings yesterday. Sorry, everyone, you can't see them, but I tried. I need to make the character smaller, and then maybe the camera is too high. Maybe I can put it a bit lower. So you have to think about where you put your camera before you draw something. Okay? Let's move on to the animatic. It's going to show on the screen. Okay, so we have this. Camera movements, like being zoom or zoom in or zoom out. Unless you want like a very disturbing effect, they have to be slow. Like otherwise, it's kind of weird. So you can make it slower. Okay, so we have a map. Like this is pretty clear. Okay, and then the character is inside. I'm not a big fan of the map thing because I think like you're in a world with technology and stuff, so you could have something that's less basic than a map. I don't know, like he has a kind of a watch and he press on it and then there's a map that appears. I'm just saying like random things. This is
hologram thing.
yeah, kind of like, but it could be like a novel idea of showing. It's just like I saw a lot of maps today, so I think like yours could be different. But it's a basic way of doing things, and it works. This shot is too short. Lots of you made shorts that were super short. Take your time and maybe have the character leave the screen and then you catch him back in the factory, because otherwise this guy's like, oh, he's in there and then he's in another place. So it's good if you have shots like when the character goes to one place to another, from one place to another, then the in and out of the shot, like the character leaves the shot and then you find him in another place. But don't start a movement of the character, like he starts walking, and then bam, he's somewhere else. I said the same thing earlier to someone else, I think. But yeah, you have to think about like the distance that the character traveled, and it's fine if you have very like he's in a different place then, but you have to have him leave your first shot first. Okay, so he's living, and then you have the factory. Kind of like a bit of a rough drawing, but at least there's space. There's lots of perspective things that you could do a bit better, but this is an animatic. It's fine. I just think that you who loves Japanese animation, you should look a little bit at how they will frame something like that. Usually they won't have like something that's so in front of the character and so straight. Yeah, you know, all of the lines like that go up, they're like this, and the lines that are on the other side are really like very parallel to the top and the bottom of the screen. So what Japanese animators will do is that they will use the camera and like go a bit like this.
Tilt it a little.
Yeah, tilt it a little bit, and then the shot will have like be a lot more lively. Let me find this one guy. So he's a friend of mine who worked in Japanese animation. Not this guy. Okay, let's see if we have any images that show what I mean. Maybe this one. Yeah, well, this is a pretty solid drawing. I'm not asking you to draw something like that. Sorry, I didn't prepare it. I just thought of this guy in advance. Here he is. Okay. This one is pretty straightforward. Yeah, well, that's not the same kind of shot, but the camera is a bit tilted. Same here. Like here you can see a little bit tilted. Doesn't have to be much, but just like this, and it will be less like something you did in school, right? Because I took a picture and it's right in front of my camera, so tilt it a little bit. Okay. Yeah, that's. Well, you need to have more dynamic angles. Oh yeah, and this shot. Oh, sorry, I went back 10 seconds. So you have like this shot, and you have almost the same one a few shots later. Right? Look at here. Very similar shot to the other one, so you have to change things up a little bit. Okay, this works. Oh, look at how fast the zoom is going. It's like, whoa, and it's not going at a regular pace.
I'm kind of scared that it's not, it doesn't match with the soundtrack, which I
Oh,
couldn't
okay.
write, so I have to speed it up, which I don't really like it either.
I think maybe like the soundtrack thing, it's good to match the soundtrack, but here it's kind of irregular. Like it first goes kind of slow, then fast, then slow. So what you're seeing like is the point of view, right? Like it's the character that's falling down on the other. Okay. If you want some surprise, you need to frame the shots in a way. If you watch horror movies, they have a very specific way of making the character feel watched, right? So you have this kind of shots like hiding behind something, hiding the camera, having something in front of it. You have to have like these little shots that will make the viewer think, oh, something is going to happen. Otherwise, it's kind of like, bam, a surprise, but it's not working very well. You can't have like something really scary or really surprising without preparing for it first, okay? Okay, be careful. Like you have like lots of like black screens. I think like that's an editing problem. It was not planned, or was it?
I actually planned it because most of the old frame that I make is more like too rough to show, and I don't really have time to redone it. So I decided I'm just gonna put some frame to match with the soundtrack.
Okay.
And some frame is not long enough to.
Oh, I see.
To sequence it. So
Okay.
I think if I back out, it might be more sense than just put it straight up.
Okay, that was a good decision because I can still understand the story and it matches the soundtrack. But if you're pitching to someone else, you will have to like add these little things. So it's like a very classic shot. Be careful of having elements like so close. You see the feet there; they're very close to the bottom of the screen, and that is something you have to think about all the time. Not having things so close to the bottom of the screen. You could have the feet like completely cut, or like a lot higher than this, but don't have them touch the bottom because otherwise it looks weird. It looks like it's been planned like this, but it's weird. Okay?
Okay.
Oh, one thing, if you want to have a battle, like a fight scene, and have it really easy to understand, one rule would be you have to keep the characters on the same side, or you have to show them switching sides. Which is like, if you and I were fighting and someone was filming that, they would make sure that you were on the right side of the screen and I would be on the left. And even if you move, you do something, it's easier to follow if one character is on the left, one character is on the right, and it doesn't change, okay? And then if you want to flip that, then you have to show the character switching place. So maybe I will like take you and then like bring you like this, and then the camera will show that we switched place. But if not, you have to keep them on the same side. So this is not what's happening there. Like you have them moving, like switching sides, and I think like you broke the 180 angles degree rule a lot, like a bunch of times. It can be fine. Like it's not a problem sometimes, especially when you're storyboarding fight scenes, because of this idea that like characters have to be on pretty much the same side all the time. But you have to think of this, how to make it clear. And remember what I told you about the silhouette thing is like your character, they have pretty similar looking silhouettes, so hard to make out which one is which. So you can use colors there. One is in orange, the other is in blue. I don't care, but show me who's who so I can understand a bit better who is doing the action. Okay, oh, I hate this kind of shots. They're boring. Do not do this.
I actually hate it too.
This is like you're playing a fighting game and this is the screen. It's not framing. It's not cinema. You have to change this one, okay? Promise me you will.
I will change it because I don't like it too.
Okay, great. Oh, you could have something like that, but not in such a they could be like this, but like super far away on the screen, or really close with a cut screen, like one face, the other. Doesn't matter. But this particular shot, let's change it. Okay, so you have really I can see that you want to animate fights and it's your strong suit and it looks good, but I think your fighting could be not cut that way, at the end it's really and then I want to see more, what's happening? So you have to look up editing and how the pacing is done in fight scenes and when to be slow, when to finish, how to finish, okay? Especially you can watch trailers and things like this. That's really interesting editing. Okay? I think, okay, we're close to the time. So do you have any questions?
I actually have a question about background drawing, which I really want to do, but I don't know where to start.
Oh, the live drawing? Background drawing. Oh. I think you have, if it's not your strong suit, you have to start small. So to understand perspective, everything is perspective, right? And if you start here and you're going to draw this whole room, you're going to hate it and you're going to give up on it. So start small. You want to draw the whole room, then you come here and you draw just one chair or just a computer, but still using perspective and making sure, since you want to draw realistic, making sure your drawing is realistic and has good proportions. Draw your phone, this, anything that's a bunch of objects. So you start with one and then you add this, there are a bunch of objects, one is behind the other, and then you can build it really slow. I'm a bit of a special case about that because my dad is an architect, so he knew how to draw perspective and I learned really young. But in my first year as an art student, I loved drawing in perspective, but I realized really quickly that making the whole background was really hard. So I drew a lot in my free time, a bunch of objects, and it made me understand a lot about perspective. And then you can try to move on to bigger and bigger things, but don't start with something really complicated. You have to start with small objects, and once you understand small objects and how this is really hard to draw. There's a lot of curves. Understanding curves in perspective is really hard. So once you've done that, then you can move on to bigger thing. And you also have to learn how not to draw every detail, because if you're doing a background and if you want to draw every seed, every little thing here and there, it's gonna take you a while and you're gonna hate it. Trust me. This is something that some people like to do it, but I don't think they start with drawing all of this. Okay, so start small, go bigger, and also start doing composition. I told the others about Hans Baker and his book Dream Words. Start with very small drawing, very small composition work, and then you can move on to a bit more detailed, etc. Don't get started on the super realistic Japanese style animation layouts, because you're gonna give up. It's natural. It's hard to do at first. So smaller, then bigger.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
May the next team please come up to the stage.
Hello. Your name is Jane? Gino? Oh, that okay. Gino. Hi, Gino. So, your project is Cyber. So, let's talk about the visual development first. I I like the font you've used.
Thank you.
I think this is good graphic design, but that's beside the point. I think it's interesting that you used a lot of references first to show what kind of world you wanted to have and what kind of art style you wanted to have, because of course you didn't have a lot of time to draw. So I think it's a good idea to gather references like that and explain them the way you did yesterday. So good job with that.
Thank you.
Using references is a good thing to have give others an idea of what's in your head if you don't have time to draw. So good job. I like this idea, like the fight between science and magic. It's a tale that's also really old, like from mythology. You have a lot of things like these, and I think it's interesting. There's a lot of books that touch up on this subject. There's one that I really love, and I think you might like to read it. Maybe you've read it before. It's called His Dark Materials. I can give you the name later. Sure. It's a series of 3 books. It's not. There's a movie that was made, and then also a TV series based on the books. But that's the central theme, like technology and magic, and also religion. But there's this very strong story about magic and how technology and religion do not understand magic. So it's really interesting. So if you like this kind of aesthetic, because it's kind of cyberpunk too as well, so might want to look it up. It's a really good book. I also really like what you said about your character, like the round parts in machinery. Like you said, oh, I looked it up and I saw lots and lots of round parts in machines and stuff. So I think that's interesting. And why not? I'm like, yeah, okay, why not? But your shape work, I think it's not as clear as you would like it. Your drawing is very detailed. Oh, I have one question about that. What's the kind of movie you want to make? What is it going to be? Feature film? Like, is this what kind of project? Tell me more about it.
That's gonna be hard because like I don't have a clear idea for the story yet, so it's really hard to decide what it's gonna be. But I personally would like it to be a feature film.
A feature film, and 2D or 3D?
If I'm going with this design, I think I have to go with 3D.
Right. That was one of my main concerns.
Yeah,
of like, oh, this is really detailed, and like this painting is really realistic, so 3D would work really well. So if you want to go this way, then we're fine with all of these details. But when you think about details, I think it's important to know why you put a lot of details in one part and why you didn't in other parts. So that's one thing you have to think about. And I wanted to talk to you more about the design of your machine, like the arm part, the cyborg thing. I'm pretty sure you know like all of the references I'm going to talk about, but the first one is, of course, like lots of people know about. It's like Full Metal Alchemist, right? You might have seen it. It's really popular, and it looks simple, but if you watch the mechanical design there, it's really well made because it has this medieval thing, I feel, about it, and the world there is kind of medieval, and there's lots of inspiration from medieval Europe. So this shows in the mechanical design. That's a conscious choice that the author made, thinking like, oh, I'm going to have an arm that's also an automail there, but has to look like an armor, but also has to look like a machine, right? So that's one choice. The other one is like arcane. There's lots of machines there. And this is really inspired by French Art Deco. Have you heard about this art style? Art Deco?
Yeah, Art Deco.
Yeah, so from like early 20th century. And all of the design there is extremely inspired by Art Deco. So that shows, and it looks really different from the Full Metal Alchemist there. And here's the last one, like, So this is also a really popular Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell is different because these are cyborgs, but they also look really human, but also like dolls. So what the designer, the author went with was, I need to make the machine look the most like a skeleton I can. Like it has this really human feeling, and yet it's not. And so it's kind of like a cross between the machine, the dolls, and the humans. So very, very different approaches to mechanical design. And I want to know, like, do you have any, on your project, there's this arm there, but I can't feel like you have one specific thing you have to tell with the design. So is there any? Not yet? Okay. So if you want to push this further, you will have to think about what the machine looks like and probably pick one thing to start with and just put a little bit of it in your design and not just have like this whole cyberpunk looking and kind of classic look to your design, because otherwise it's going to be a bit not boring but something we've already seen, right?
So it's picking a theme for the arms and that associated with the background of the story.
I think like the two, if the two are linked together, that's a good thing. For Arcane, like the designer Arcane is very, very inspired by Art Deco and Art Nouveau, but doesn't really match the story. There's something about like the Great Gatsby, which is a story about a guy who had like lots of parties in America, and it ends up really badly, and it tells something about capitalism and the society back then. And I think that's kind of the thing they went with Arcane, but I don't think this is like the design thing was really linked to the story. So you can just think, oh, I like this style. I don't know. I like, what would be my idea? I like the 50s looking paintings and illustration, and I want my armor to have something of this, my mechanical design of something in it. So just pick something that you like if you're not really into like making everything so linked together. So just, it can be just like a design element, but I think you need something like this to make it look more unique and more you.
Sure. That's very interesting.
Okay. Wait, I had more to say about this. Forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, and the contrast thing, like it's the same for the sorcerer there, the magician there. He looks kind of a bit basic. Like if you want to look up a magician, you're gonna end up with like images like this. So you need to make this idea your own idea. Who are you? What do you like? What's your inspiration? If you've seen like the trailer I showed you yesterday, there's a mechanical horse in it. Okay. I really wanted to show you how the horse came to be, but the drawings are not online and not on my tablet. But basically, what Rémi, who designed the horse, did, he took a bunch of objects from everyday life, say like an iron or I don't know, a TV or a toaster, whatever, and then he used these shapes and made them into a horse, like used them to create a horse, and then changed them up a little bit. And so we had like really funny versions of the horse with a head that looked like an iron, but it was really reworked. So someone who didn't know he used the iron as a base would have not noticed, but the shape was interesting. So you can also do that, like think about like one object from your daily life and think, oh, I'm gonna have like this arm is going to be reminding you of TV, whatever, like something that's really mechanical. You want to see inside a car, what the engine looks like, get inspiration from that. Since you said that you'd looked up lots of mechanical parts, like real mechanics, good to take inspiration from that. And doesn't have to be a theme going on, but I think it's good to keep the same idea between the two designs. Like for example, like let's go back to Full Metal Alchemist. The whole medieval thing, it goes for all of the characters. Like there is the little brother who is in armor, etc. So it's a thing for all of the characters. Same with Arcane, they all have like Art Nouveau, Art Deco inspirations, etc. So I think like if you pick something for the cyber guy, then you need to keep it with the sorcerer guy. Okay?
Okay, sure.
And I like the idea that they have opposite shapes. Like one is tall and slim, and the other one is like more bulky and more of a rectangle. But I think you can push this a little bit further and work more on the shape things. Like, yes, I see what you decided to do here, like with the various costumes and the shape work that's up there. Where is it? But I think you can push this a little bit more and have them be really opposite, because that's what your project is about. Like, it's about rivalry and opposition. Okay?
So maybe more extreme?
Yeah, a bit more extreme.
More
It doesn't have like to be crazy cartoony, but a bit more extreme. Let me. No, that's the only one. I wanted to go to the Animatic. Let's go. Okay. So we have several shots. Like this is, oh, they're facing each other, and this one is magic. Fairly easy to understand. And then the technology wins. Okay, so that's basic, but that works. What's really missing from this is the environment. What does the place they are fighting looks like? What is their world? I want to know more. Like you said that there's a tree, there's a town. Tell me more about what the background would look like.
What I'm planning at first is there should be a wide shot to introduce the environment first, but I didn't have the time to like design the environment and paint it out like clearly. So I don't have the idea of how it should look right now.
Okay, the introduction shot.
Yeah.
Okay, and you really don't know what you want the backgrounds to look like?
The idea that I have in my head is like more like a machine is over the original like green village, something like that.
So basically what you're telling me is that like the machines are the ones who are winning so far.
Yeah, for now.
Okay. And what's your idea behind the story? Because for me, with this kind of story, like it's kind of a tale, you know. We have a very famous French book like this about a big tree and a machine in there and a small guy who wants to change this order from the machine. And of course, there's the matrix and everything that has to do with machine domination. But I want to know, like, why do you want to tell such a story?
So, as I said, I don't know if you remember, like, for them, actually, there will be, like, now the sorcerer guy is losing, but there will be a savior, a bird of a savior who can, like, they are traditionally manipulate the trees and, like, wood and stuff like that, but the new one will be able to manipulate the steel and machine. So it's like a total cure-off to the cyborg again. So it's like the natural side will adapt to it, and then no matter how good it is, the technology is.
Machine is always going to catch up with it.
No, for the...
Oh, wait, sorry, yeah, magic is going to always kind of catch up with
like
the machines.
No matter how we human destroy the environment will hit us harder.
So this is central to your project. This is your idea. This is what you have to make us understand when you're pitching such a project. It's like, oh, my idea is that even though we are destroying the earth through technology, I think the earth will always come back and like will get rid of us some way or another, or there will be something that makes the earth more powerful than the humans. That's your story. That's what you want to say. So you have to say that when you're pitching.
It's actually still developing, like, because there's still a lot of idea in my head. Like, because I have said that the sorcerer used to be superior to others too, like before they have the technology. So that's still a thing that I want to play with.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, even though they are given by the natural, like they are born with it. They didn't choose to be superior to other, but they are actually like.
Oh,
Yes,
so
that's your
they
better.
get chosen by nature. They're
Yeah.
not. That's not a path that anyone can take.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm gonna say, what does that mean? Like, what's your idea behind that? Yeah, I mean, it's hard, but it is something that you have to think about when you're writing a story. You have to think like, oh, but I'm saying this, but what will the people understand from my story? But what am I saying with this? If I'm saying, oh, people are born like this and they don't have a choice, it means something. It's not just a random thought. So you have to think more about the motivations behind that. And if you don't have any motivations, like you can make up one. You can say, oh, I want to say more about discrimination to people who are closer to nature and try not to live with technology. It's fine. Like I just made up something like right now. You just have to find things like ways. And this will help you when you plan for the movie and when you start doing concepts and stuff. You will have this idea in the back of your mind, and you can say, oh, I can add that to my character design, and I can, oh, this does not fit with my story. So this will inform you in your thought and creative process. But of course, if you just like drawing and making good-looking design, you can also like work with other people who are the ones who write stories. That's fine. That's a good career choice. Not everyone wants to write stories, and not everyone who writes stories want to draw things, so that's fine. Do you have any questions?
I actually have some question, but it's not related to this
That's
project.
fine.
So maybe later.
Do you want to ask them later?
Yeah, because it's just a few questions, but it's not related to this.
Okay, but don't you think they would be useful for the others, or
I don't
not
know.
really?
I don't know, because it's like I might be used it in my dissertation later,
Okay.
so it's more like an
Okay.
interview, and I want to record it.
Oh,
if
okay.
you don't mind.
Oh, I don't mind. I don't mind. You can ask them later then. We're a bit early, but I think we're going to move on to the next one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May the final team please come up to the stage.
Hello. So your name is Omsen. So, your story. It's wave, right? That's a W. It is very confusing. It looks like an A, but not. So I think you have to change it a little bit, because I spent like 5 minutes yesterday thinking, is it a W? Is it I don't know how to read this. So I like it. I like the way you drew it, but a bit confusing because of the wave, the actual wave. Like, that's a good idea, but maybe try to make it look a bit more like a W. Or maybe that's just me. Just ask other people if they see a W, and if they tell you, not really, then you have to change it, okay? Okay. So, I told you that yesterday, but I think it's interesting to say it louder for other people to hear. I think you have a very good heart of the story, like meaning. You're a bit like the opposite of other projects where they have a story, but the meaning behind it isn't clear. Here you have like one character, he has emotional trauma, and he needs to get over it, like overcome it. But I have no story elements. Like, he goes back to his hometown, but what's he doing here? He's overcoming emotional trauma, right? But that's not an action. That's something that happens, and it's something that's in his head. So what does he want to do in his hometown? What's his goal? So yesterday you told me you hadn't yet thought about what kind of things he wanted to do in his hometown, but maybe you have bit more ideas today? Okay, I want to hear them.
So, his death, the reason that his father died, even though like all the people in the village survived, is that his father tried to help an elder couple that like later adopted the protagonist. Yeah, so he kind of resent his father about like leaving.
Did they drown or something? Was it something related to the sea? How did he save them?
How did he save him? It's just like he kind of sacrificed himself so the couple can get out. So, and the reason that Hook like go back to his hometown is that out of the blue, his uncle just kind of like contact him, and he's like a national swimmer athlete. So his uncle is like, "Oh, I know you're really good at swimming. Can you teach my kid to like go to like a contest because like the people over there really get excited about like swimming contests and something like that." So he wanted vacation too. So he was like, "Okay, then I'll go then." And like later, after that, like while he's teaching them, like coaching the kid, his uncle have you like met like a relative who's just like, "You should do that, you should do this, and like like go on trip and something like that." And he keep dragging about like the islands and like you should go meet your grandmother, okay, like and something like that. So he just like, "Okay, then I'll try to get to the islands to meet like another relative." And so what happened is that it's in the low season, so there's no tourist trip like a speedboat. So his uncle had to contact one of the fishing boat, and despite that, Hook actually have a really strong reaction to fishy thing. So he got really, what is it called? When he get on the boat and like there's a fish and it's so smelly and he kind of like tripped off the boat and
he has a panic attack and he just lives.
Yeah, he's just like, nope.
Not happening today.
And then he got rescued by the purple dolphin who dragged him like back to the islands. So yeah, that's why he's there. So like he kind of get stopped at the islands and he have like a concussion too. And the fishing boat they're gonna arrive in a few months later because it's a low season and like the boat don't come to the islands that often. So, yeah.
Okay, so he's stuck there because he wanted to visit some relative after immediately got pushed by his uncle to go there. And when he goes there, he is stuck there because there's no boats and he has a concussion.
Yeah, he have like injuries, like
like
something that
injury. Okay. And so what he wants is to leave this island. When he's on the island, is he saying like, "Oh, I need to leave. I want to leave. This is not my place," and then he will have to accept that this is his community and his ancestors.
Yeah, it's just like he's been denial of his father's death. Like every time someone brought it up or like asked him about it, he would be like I'm not gonna talk about that, and he like kind of in denial. Okay. And he's the place that he grew up, like he was a kid, so he have memories of it. So everything kind of hurt for him. So he's always like I don't want to accept this. Like my father did a really bad thing to me. I don't want to accept that. But like in the end, he learned that like the intention of his father is good. It's not that his father don't love him anymore and like when to have other people. It's just that his father had to do something that like other people won't. It's kind of like a story about like a children of the heroes, like a person who like try to help everyone, but they won't look back at their own family. So yeah.
Okay, it's funny because my movie is about that. It's like a hero who goes away and his kids are like, why? Like, we are more important than saving other people. So there's a very interesting thing to think about. Like, it's a moral French. Like, there's a moral problem there. Like, which side do you pick? Like, do you help do you stay there with your kids, or do you help other people and sacrifice your family life or yourself, and your kids won't be happy? So that's interesting. So I think like you have an interesting story. I think like what Jesus told me is interesting, but you need probably more time to think about it and just like have it like written and think about narrative arcs and what is important in your story and what is not. Okay. I want to say like you have a very strong file there, like the whole how it looks, like it looks good and it's very clear. What you want to say is very clear in each side, and that's a very highly valuable skill. So good job, and yeah, having like photographs and things, like I can see this project and see what it will look like despite not having like big illustrations with like full colors, etc. But a page like this, I like it because it's very clear for me.
Thank you.
Okay, and this like, yeah, and it's consistent as well. You're not pulling things out like from very different type of media and tell me, oh, this is my inspiration and this is also like it makes sense. But most of like pretty much everyone who had references, they were well picked and I could understand. So this just not just you, but everyone. Okay, they're very informative because I didn't know about the Malkins.
It's really niche, so like I have to explain a bit.
But that's why this project is interesting. Like I don't know if this is something like close to your heart or not, but I can feel like you're really interested in the subject and you want to bring it to other people. So I like it. Okay. I like the character design. I think you have strong drawing skills. I would like to see more like full body drawings because I can see like you're really comfortable drawing heads and expressions. So maybe a bit more like silhouette work on the main character. That would be interesting. And yeah, the references are good. But like on the final drawing, I have my reservation about what he's wearing. Because you're saying he's a swimmer. What like the major thing about swimmer is that they have very large shoulders and very narrow waist. So they have like this silhouette like this. Right? And the shorts there, they're not helping with this kind of silhouette. So I'm not reading swimmer from this guy. I'm reading like, I don't know, guy on the beach who goes surfing, right? And it's not a bad thing. Like it's already very easy to associate him with the sea, but maybe the shorts are like very large at the bottom. I would change that a little bit to keep the swimming body going on. Because like when you see it, it's like, oh, okay, he's a swimmer and he has like tight pants. I'm not saying to have that, but maybe smaller looking the bottom of the shorts, especially. I wanted to like. Maybe, are you like a fan of Check Please? It's your art style really reminds me, like it's a webcomic about hockey, yeah, ice hockey, and the art style is really similar. I can show you if you want to. Yeah, but I was like, oh, this reminds me of my friend Biddy who is doing Check Please.
That's so weird. It's like I got matched like to your story and then like art style of your friend also.
It's a web comic, and they have like this one guy that looks like that.
Wait,
and
I think I saw that before.
See, she has like a very a bit of a different art style when she draws for herself, but she has very, very, yeah. I think like a lot of her earlier drawings, they're quite similar to what you are doing. I don't know, reminds me of it, but how do I go back? Here we go. Oh, for the one person who had, oh, this is also for you actually. I'll talk about it later. Yeah, still, I really like the other character, Nong, but why is she not like mentioned? Like, if she is one of the main characters, why is she not mentioned anywhere apart from this?
So like she's gonna meet him like later when like he got on the islands. So yeah, so like like at first in Animatic, I try like a different sequence that I afraid of over deliver like the other people that they're just like have a really like everything just like you know like really fast really, and I was like, oh my god, I have to keep a slow pace so like people like know things, so it turned out I under deliver so yeah. And her story is like would start at almost like the middle, so yeah.
Okay, but I think like when you're doing like a pitch or anything, I think if she's important enough to have her own character slide, she needs to be a bit more present in like the animatic or your synopsis or whatever, like the short version of your story. Okay, like the reference. I think like these drawings are really good. Like I like them a lot. Like the references. There's a short film I want to show you because it really reminds me of this. I think like the concept art like looks like it's really your strong suit. Very, very good drawing. And yeah, I told you before that I think like your watercolors, they're really good. They look really good, and I think like you should keep doing that because I'm less convinced by your digital art. All of this is watercolor, right?
Like I paint it in inks and then I transfer it and like I add the colors and everything.
Okay. So you did most of it like on a computer after drawing in ink?
It's just like 30, 40, like 30 of like traditional. And
okay. And I think this looks really good, and I think like you should keep exploring this type of style rather than go all digital, like the color keys there. And I keep showing the same people, but my friend Arina, she is really good. I opened it on Instagram. Yeah. So she doesn't draw a lot in like on her computer, and she does all of these very kind of muddy watercolor concepts. No, that's not a concept, but this kind of thing. She worked on Arcane, and she like very rough, but it's still she has like gouache drawings. But you know, it's fine. Like you can have like traditional art. You don't have like to push yourself and force yourself to draw in digital. That's fine. Like if your strong suit is traditional, keep at it because it's a very good skill to have. And even like this, like she does this kind of thing when you have like just a bunch of like lines and really, really rough colors, but it's there and it's very, there's a lot of emotions in this drawing. It's very, very cartoony, but there's a story behind this drawing. So it's fine to draw really rough things and keep everything traditional. Okay. Wait, where are we? There. So I really like that. The color keys, you have interesting colors. I would have the same remark as the group from yesterday or this morning. Not yesterday. Every one of you were there yesterday. But this morning, where if you have something that's really rough, and that's fine, like for color keys, they have to be. You don't have to take like ages on a color key, but put it smaller because like this is very detailed concept art and it's super small, and then I have this which is really rough on a whole page. So I would have like switched the two. I want to see bigger, and this and this and this. Like this works better, right? But you can go smaller with things that are simple like this. Okay, and if you're planning for a feature film, then you have to shoot like a feature film, which means the format things I talked about yesterday. It's been a while since I've seen a feature film that is in 16:9 format. Like I was on the plane the other day and I tried to watch like Wallace and Gromit, thinking it was originally shot in 16:9, but it's not. It was widescreen as well, and it's a pretty old movie. So yeah, that's not you should plan for this type of format, like the framing that you have is going to be different. So when I see color keys that are like almost a square, I'm like, okay, interesting colors, but where's the composition? You have to think about this, okay? Okay, let's see the animatic. Okay, I like this shot. Like, I like the pacing.
It's really slow.
Yeah, but slow is good. Like, sometimes slow is good. Like, this shot, not sure about your camera, though. If you have one shot, like, that's going in, like, slightly zooming in, and then the next one is of another thing, and it's zooming in as well, it's going to create a weird effect. So I think it would be better to just have, like, the final frame be the one without the zoom there. You don't need that. Like, it's there. Just have like the wind there. It's fine. It looks good. Just keep it like that. Oh, and also, I know that you've drawn like some kind of fog over him, right? Oh no, you're underwater. That's underwater. The camera is underwater. I want to know under the water. Is it under the water?
No, it's like they're on a boat, but like
Okay.
and the sky just clouds.
Okay, these are clouds, like above, and there's one that goes above, like the character lines.
Yeah.
It's because it's kind of a fog, like foggy.
Like I tried to draw a cloud, but I don't know how. So yeah, it's right up there.
Okay, because these lines are a bit confusing, like the perspective. I'm like, where am I? Where's the camera? I'm not sure. What's this shape? So you have to be. If you want to make like clouds, fogs, something like that, you have to think of a way to make it really clear. So maybe something that's, I don't know, out of focus, like blurry or something. Use a blurry brush, something like that. So no zoom, no zooming in. That's not necessary. And that's his dad. Okay. So I like the pacing. You had a time limit, right? It was like 45 seconds. I think if you want to go with a very, very slow pace, you can go over the 45 seconds because this doesn't tell me a lot about your story. And you have a lot to tell me about your story. So I would like to know more about the story than what you've shown me there. And what you've shown me is that you have a good sense of pacing. But if you want to go slow, you can, but you can go over the time limit because, of course, your shots are very slow, so you need to add more. Okay? I'll just show you the. Oh yeah, this is. We were talking about like watercolors, and this is not out yet, but there's this series called Tourbillonness, and it's French. And they are making something like, oh, you see, it's halfway, like half of it is digital and half of it is watercolors. And I think it looks really pretty and kind of similar to what you've shown me, so I wanted to show you. Looks like this. I mean, for concept art, it's going to end up looking like this, and you're making a 3D project, so it's different. But for your concept, I think like this is good inspiration. And yeah, they kept a lot of traditional looking things, and then these are actual traditional drawings without any editing done. Okay, so there's that, and that's not the one.
I watched that before.
Oh, you watched this one?
Yeah.
That's my classmates. yeah. But I'm looking for their FX film. Then let's go with Arena. I should have looked it up earlier. Oh, yeah, I think it's there. Yes. So it's just about like an underground. Let's see if it loads. well, you know, so like there's this fish and it goes underground. It's just like an ethics type of assignment. It's like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I don't remember, to do this whole thing, and it has like, you have to have a lot of ethics. But I think like the sea floor and things is interesting and reminds me a bit of what you try to show with your concept. So I wanted to show you kind of long. Well, you can see that we were supposed to animate ethics. It's a lot darker than I remember. Maybe the backgrounds are after. There's a bunch of backgrounds with lots of corals in it at the beginning and I think at the end. Maybe not, but yeah, the first ones right there. Like I think this whole sequence there when the fish is going down could be interesting for you. Anyway, now you know this exists. So okay. Do you have any questions? Take your time, it's fine.
I wanted to ask, but I don't know what. I don't know what to ask.
You didn't write it down.
Yeah, I think
It's-
I have it on my phone, and my phone just like.
It's
ran out
the
of batteries.
nerves. You can go and get your phone if you want, if it's on your phone.
Oh, no, it's okay. I think I'm fine. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh, it took a bit like short time, but if you want to develop more like your stories and such, we can talk more about it later, because I can see that you, from what I told you yesterday, you thought a lot about other things. So if you have more to tell me about the story and stuff, like you can always talk to me.
Oh yeah, while I was reading, I just like remember I draw more some of the shot here on the iPad, but like it's not gonna show up on there.
Oh, but I still want to see.
Like if we still have time.
Mm.
We still have time, right? I'm not sure. Like it's really rough. I just do it like.
Okay, maybe I'll try to plug it in, and it should show.
Would that? I'm not sure. Like would that just? Subได้ไหมคะ?
It's a different different plug, so it's fine. So I'm just going to comment on what I see. I think it's more important for me to look on your work than care about what other people can see.
Sorry, everyone.
So here, what I can say is that in one of your shots, you have like a wider frame, which I like, and you have like lots of environmental shots, and I think it's a good idea. So that's the kid when he goes back like to the island, and everything reminds him of his father, and he has a. You can see, yeah, this is very good, very interesting way of framing things, because you have like, there's an element in front of the camera, and it is what is kind of scaring and putting the main character through bad emotions, and then the character is small compared to this. So I will add this for other people, but if you want to frame something and you have like a scale problem, something is really scary or really important in your shot, you can use the background and foreground, which means like you can have an object that looks really big when it's really in front of the camera, and that's what you did there. So good job on that. And then the character seems really small because it's far away, and really good framing with like all of the people walking around. So that's really interesting. Oops, sorry. And then we have like the inside of a house. And the character is like sick in front of the camera.
Yeah, it's like the character is like the guy is like having a plate. It's really rough. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, like he's like eating a plate and he really don't
Hates
like
it.
Yeah,
Okay.
he hates it.
Okay.
And like the girl just like look back and like what the heck are you doing?
Okay, what's
like,
happening?
Cooking, so
I like the shot. I think it's a bit too in front of the character. I keep saying that.
Yeah.
You have to think about the camera angles and not shoot film things too, vanishing point. If the vanishing point is in the middle, it has to be there for a reason. So, because otherwise it looks kind of unnatural. Usually when you're like outside in the street, you're not in the middle of the street, so the vanishing point is kind of like on the side. And same if you're in a room, you're like rarely in the center of the room. Like for example, where I'm sitting, you're in the middle. Like you have a vanishing point in front of you, but other than that, like the room looks not symmetrical to me. So if you want to have symmetry, you have to think about it. So interesting, I would maybe zoom up a little bit more to have like the food visible, and because I don't care about all of the thing going out in the bottom of the screen, like there's the characters there, and I want to see the food that he's eating and that he ate, and then the reaction of the girl on the background. And on the bottom we have the character. No, it's his father fishing, like using a
like the
spear. Yeah.
And
Okay.
the fish.
Okay. It's good composition, good acting. I think you could. No, I like it. I have nothing to add to this. I think like these are really cool framing and beat boards. We call them beat boards in French. And then like it's zooming in on the dad leaving the island.
Yeah, it's just like the land is kind of like they're on a really like a hill. So like there's a flood like everywhere, and it's really really far.
Okay.
Like the dad's kind of like run back to the fort and like leave his kid behind.
Okay, maybe that would be a little bit more of an interesting way to frame that, but maybe we can talk about it later, and I can try to draw for you, because the flood doesn't look too important. It's like, oh, it's far away, it's not dangerous, but that's not what you are saying there. So maybe you can like try and draw something for you later, like right after. Okay. Did you think back and think about your question, or are you not remembering it yet?
I think I lost it.
It's fine. You're gonna find it back. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Like, thank you for coming. Yes, we had a great time. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all the participants for showing their work today. It was wonderful getting to see all of the products or like animations that they've presented. And now that we've come to the final session of the event, I would like Fanou and Pining to first exit the stage, please, so that you may be able to view the closing remarks. I would like to request the honor of Ajahn Pat Nimmon, Associate Dean, Student Affairs of Faculty of Digital Art at Rangsit University, to address our special guest and deliver the closing remarks to conclude this meaningful and memorable masterclass workshop.
Good afternoon. Hello. How are you? It was such an honor to be here. Since it's my first time to be able to be saying in the closing ceremony. First, I'd like to say it's a privilege to be a part of this wonderful event. But not only to be a part, but to be involved in almost every sections of the program. As I am the member of the Faculty of Digital Art, Rangsit University, I'd like to say, well, thank you to Miss Clémentine Arfi from the Embassy of France. This wonderful event will never been happened in the first place without such a person as Miss Clémentine. She has a very good management and help all the whole events and program been through. And I also would like to say thank you to our dear lecturer, Miss Fanou Lefebvre. Apologize me if I pronounce this wrong. To be such a role model for our students, and also to give us a very inspiring and encouraging to be a part of the animations industry and community, and also to show us the way forward for our students as well, and to give a very wonderful comment to all the participators that we just witnessed just a few hours ago. Thank you very much. Also, I'd like to say thank you, our Dean of the Faculty of Digital Art, Rangsit University, Ajahn Nathawut Sri Mantara, and to be a very to cast a very big visions on having us creating this event, and also to encourage all the members to be a part and to create all these massive kind of program for our students. Thank you very much. Also, my colleague, management members, also our two leaders in our faculty as well, and all the crews, and all the crews in our faculty to give us big support for the event. Thank you very much. Also, our student team from Digital Art Student Council to give a very wonderful services. Thank you very much. And last but not least, our masterclass participator. And I like to say thank you that you had such courage to be on stage and produce such a kind of like pretty wonderful project, and which we all can see. And I hope you learned a lot from our friends and our lecturer. So I like everybody here, please give a round of applause to all of us, and especially to our participator. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ajahn Pat, for the speech. I would like to ask Pi Ning to come up to the stage to receive a gift of thanks for being our translator for these past 2 days. I would like to also invite our lovely director Fanou to come up to the stage to receive a gift of thanks for flying all the way here from France to Thailand to give feedback and also view the works done today. Lastly, I would like to give a thank you to all the distinguished individuals who are present and watching online for your participation and support of this event. We hope to see you again next year on our second masterclass. The organizer sincerely apologizes if there are any shortcomings in organizing this event. Thank you all again. สวัสดีค่ะ. And before everyone leaves, I would also like to invite all participants